I'm going to come to you here in a second, but let's now track the southern part of that.
As storms were working across southern Indiana and northern Kentucky on March 2nd, many were turning on their TVs to get the latest weather information from their favorite local weather teams. We asked some of the local media here in Louisville what they remember as they look back on the 10-year anniversary of March 2nd, 2012.
If I were to look at that event from 10 years ago, the relationship that first comes to mind is of Lenora and Wayne Hunter. He was the person who died in the tornado in Henryville. And I remember giving her a hug and seeing her and being at ground zero in southern Indiana, in all of those towns, from Boardman to Marysville to right there by the high school. And I think of that relationship because that one was broken that day. You know, we will never forget that day. And we try to really work hard, not only not forgetting it, but letting new staff members know how important that day was and the job that we did. Because frankly, while maybe it could have gone different, we felt like we provided a great service. And from the letter from a young grade schooler named Jay, who says, you know, thank you, that we still have framed and keep in the office, to seeing the picture of the school bus smashed into that diner. It's a reminder that what we do is important, and a reminder that when we're all working in sync, we can save lives and we can be there for people in a time of need. And at the end of the day, that's the gratifying part about our jobs.
You're looking at supercell structures, classic supercells that you see in the Great Plains in our area, which we hadn't seen before. So for the first time in my career, you're just looking at like classic hook echo, and you're like, something really, really bad is happening on the ground. And really, the first time we saw this gigantic debris ball. So that's, you know, the destruction that the EF4 was starting to do. You know, Monty, when there's a warning, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to call my family, checking on each other's families and things like that. Just how serious the situation was.
And then this was early afternoon. I remember we're all there, and these supercells started forming out west. And I remember thinking in the back of my head, and I still have the images on my phone to this day to kind of look back and just kind of in awe of what formed that day. But textbook of what I remember learning in school, that I just couldn't believe what I was seeing on the radar, and just saying prayers at that time because I couldn't imagine, you know, what folks were seeing or experiencing as this tornado was ripping through. But the thing about that, at that time, you know, we didn't have a correlation coefficient. We didn't have those extra things that we have available now to us. But I do remember seeing that debris ball on the radar multiple times, you know, throughout that day, and just pit in my stomach.
You know, I think for those of us in the weather enterprise that go through a significant event like that, I don't think that it ever leaves you. You know, I think that you remember those moments where you're wondering, after you see debris being lofted, what's going on with those people afterwards. And you know, when you're in that moment, you try to push that to the side because you have to focus on the people downstream, because this is still going towards somebody else. But you know, the most powerful memories I have of that day was when we finally started to get video. I mean, we knew how bad it was. We knew when we were looking at shear on the rotation, on the meso, that this had to be producing a violent tornado. And then to see the pictures. And then I just remember the first report of a fatality coming, and it's crushing. You know, and I think all of us carry that with us. I think that we tried our hardest to try to let everybody in the path know what was coming. We tried for days out ahead. But it just sticks with me that we weren't able to get to everybody. And I think that's something that I'll never forget about March 2nd, is that feeling of helplessness. You want to do everything you can. You want to be as aggressive as you can in the wording, but sometimes there's nothing you can do.
The stories and images from that day still linger. They leave a long-lasting emotional imprint on all those involved and impacted by the deaths and destruction of those violent storms.
I remember one image, and it just continues to stick with me to this day, was the school bus that was thrown against the school. And just, yeah, super, super sad day for many. You know, Monty was the chief, and I just remember certain folks getting on the phone. I mean, we have family too, even though we're on the air, saying, hey, you make sure you get in your basement. Tornado heading in your direction, and just hearing just how scared, even we were scared as we were tracking this stuff, but trying to keep that peace and the calm as you're trying to relay that information.
You just went through all that, all the tracking and everything, and you feel kind of depleted after that. You give it your all, you hope you do, and then you see all the destruction, and you hate to see it, and you're kind of numb by it, and sometimes you ask, what more could you have done? And there's probably really, sometimes with an EF4, that kind of thing, there's really nothing more you can do. You've tried to prepare everybody the best you can, but these are one of the few events that doesn't happen very often that before I go into work that day, I say a little prayer. I say, get me out of the way. Just let me be the vehicle to get the information out as best as I can. It's really not about me, it's not about my team. It's just getting that message as clear as possible to the people that need it so that they can stay safe. And I try to keep it as simple as possible that way.
I came out different because I could never feel that my job was just being a TV meteorologist. I still keep a folder on my computer because I think a lot of us feel a little guilt about that day. We tried so hard, but we lost, in Pekin, we lost an entire family. And so I think when you go through something like that, it affects you. It's hard to let it go. I keep a folder on my computer to read back through some of the emails because it helps ground me and remind me that we did our best.
Because no matter how prepared you are, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Because that day, someone, and in fact there were more than one, people lost their lives. And at some part of you feels like, well, what if? Maybe if we were on just a little bit sooner. Maybe if we had mentioned, their town in particular. You take with you a lot of those things. It was a massive event. And we feel like while so many things went right, for one person to lose their life sort of shatters it all.
The media and us were on the same message. The message never changed, that we were going to get some of these supercells, rotating thunderstorms, and someone was going to get slimed, somewhere in southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, north of the Parkway. Someone was going to get hit pretty bad. And the message was good. And people, Humana, I believe, dismissed early. Companies, the message got out. The schools let out. And that really worked. The system worked really well.
Our relationship and partnership with our local National Weather Service has not changed. And that's a good thing because we've always had a great relationship. John Gordon's been here as long as I've been here. He's the head of the local National Weather Service. We've always had a great partnership and communication. If it might be a text or a phone call, what do you think about this, and vice versa. And so clear path of communication always, ahead of the event, during the event with the chat, after the event with storm surveys. Never an issue. I've never thought about it as competition. It's just a partnership to help the public. That's what we as professionals need to remember. Not about us. It's about protecting the public and making sure they're prepared and then helping them afterwards. That's it.
And I think that, it's interesting. The relationship between the National Weather Service and us as local Mets has evolved over the years. And I think somewhat because in TV we filtered down now some of these true real scientists. And so I think I enjoy that our relationship has evolved into a scientist speaking to scientists. And we all get to bounce ideas off each other. And that collaboration is invaluable. In particular events like this, that collaboration that we have, being able to talk scientist to scientist, what am I seeing, what are you seeing, is extremely valuable. And I think for me as the guy that has to then put that message out there as kind of the front line it just develops more confidence.
I think what a lot of folks don't realize, and I think we've started to convey this as we're live on the air, just because we are trying to be open and honest with folks. And we typically say, hey, we're chatting with the National Weather Service. And the fact that we have that capability of a chat room, that we can sit there and then you guys can tell us, hey, listen, we're about to trigger the warning for a tornado warning, or hey, we're seeing this, or we can even say to you guys, a viewer said just complete destruction of their home, or that I think is just life-changing.
We appreciate you and the work you all do because it's part of what we do. We work together, and the stronger we are is only because we've chosen to work together. So if I have questions, if I have concerns, I'm going to call you and ask those concerns. Like any good relationship, you have to work at it. And we just appreciate what you all do on a daily basis. We know it's hard. We're doing the same things here. And as we work together, it can be a beautiful thing.